So, my name's Jason. For those of you who haven't like looked me up at all and just went with my claim about selling art, and I'm just gonna do a quick introduction for myself, for you guys, and for everyone who's watching on the replay. So, this is me back in 2011, right? This is when I got started with photography. Like I had been of taking pictures with a camera since 2006, but I got out of the military and nobody would hire me. Like a master's degree in organizational leadership, PMP certification eventually, still could never get a job. But I started out here with where I assume a lot of people start out with a small either painting or photograph. And this was my very first time being accepted into like any type of storefront. This was in a storefront in Waikiki. And then this is a photo of what I do now. I installed this 9 foot piece um, in a home here in Scottsdale. I sold this piece for 17 grand. So this is the glow up that I kind of hope everyone kind of achieves. And if you're watching this, I hope that this is what you hope for yourself. But you don't have to go big, but you do have to go to a price point that supports you in some way. So it's either going to be price or it's going to be volume, right? And you can do that. You can do both. You can do a combination of the two, but this is where we start, and eventually we have to get to something like this, right? So I live in Scottsdale. I'm hailing from Arizona right now. It's like 100 degrees outside, so I'd rather be in here talking to you guys. I gave a TED Talk in 2018. You guys can look that up. It's beautiful things that are gone. Put it on your list for something to check out later. Air Force veteran, and these are some of the places where my work has been featured. So, when I come and answer questions for you guys today, this is the experience that I'm bringing for everyone, or that I'm bringing to the table at least, right? I've been selling art since 2012, 2011, 2012. I've been full-time since 2014, and I've been coaching or helping other artists sell their work since 2018, right? And we have officially, through surveys from my people, like $1.5 million in art sales. So again, this is what the kind of experience that I want to bring with you guys or to you guys. So um, I like to keep it very low key, right? So as we wait for Art Helper to come back online, all we need is just ask questions and then jump in and we'll go one at a time. All right. Brittany said, please do a brief intro. Yeah, I had that ready. So let me check one more time on Art Helper. All right, we'll come back to it. So there was a whole bunch of Q&A on Art Helper, but I think that since it's just going to be us right now, that we can just jump into the questions that you guys want to have answered today. There, as we start, or as you guys put questions into the chat, Art Helper and I are doing a giveaway for 14 spots in my school group. And if you are watching on the replay, you can enter the giveaway on this link that I am dropping in right here. Right, you can scan this and oops, you can scan this and you can that'll take you to the page to register. For those of you who haven't registered for the giveaway, you can do so at this link that I'm putting into the chat. The chat doesn't show up on the replay, so I'm putting up the QR code. All right. And I'll just leave this QR code up for a while. All right, let's just make it a little smaller, move it to the side. You can screenshot that, or if you're watching on a computer, um, you can jump in and get that anytime. All right. So, all right, guys. Like this was a Q&A format. So, what's going on in your guys' art careers right now? What are you looking for help in? Right. Janice says that she's really trying to hone my style, but how do I know if it's actually resonating? How long do I test before I pivot? Okay, Janet, are you here? Or Janice, are you here? Okay, cool. So let's chat this out. Like, I have this. Are you able to unmute yourself? No, maybe that's in a control that I have.
Yeah,
Oh, there
I
you
think
are.
myself.
Okay. So you're trying to hone
Okay,
your style. So I
okay. Can I just let me just give you a little background.
sure.
Uh, I guess I would consider myself a self-taught artist. I never went to a professional art school. I'm a retired teacher, and I started painting after I retired. And in the past, most of my paintings, I work in acrylic, and most of my paintings, have been pretty flowers and pretty landscapes. And it just that whole theme just gets lost in a mass of other flowers and other landscapes. So I'm trying to kind of hone those two things that I really love and make it more recognizably me. Does that make sense? So that my landscapes and my florals, they might not necessarily look like landscapes and florals, but I know that that's what my inspiration was. It was some flower, it was a landscape, but it doesn't actually look like a floral. I'm not really sure. I mean, I look at it kind of cool. But it's I don't know if it's something that people think, oh, this is cool. I'd like to buy a piece of this art. I mean, how long do I keep testing this
Okay.
style that I'm trying?
So the litmus test for whether or not you've achieved a style, a recognizable style, is when someone sees a piece of your art, do they say, "Oh, that's a Janice," or "That's a piece by Janice," right? So that's your litmus test. But the process. So I have this thing called finding your voice. So it's this whole workshop I have inside of Artist Selling Art, and the process of finding your voice for most artists is like a decade long, right? A decade of experience and taking experience and putting it into and letting it kind of marinate in your world until it eventually arrives on your canvas. Like anything that you can learn, you can hack, right? And I don't really like that term that much, but I think this is the only instance in which I use it. Um, but you can hack it by intentionally gathering the things that would eventually have made it into your work, right? So if you are doing that, if you are walking down the street or you're looking at art and you're like, I like this photograph of this tree because of XYZ, right? But I dislike it because of ABC. And you make this is basically the gist of the whole workshop, but you make a spreadsheet where you have parallel of everything you like about art and everything you dislike about art, and you only create in the column of what you like while actively removing anything you dislike remove it from your art. You'll start to narrow in on creating something that's very specifically you, right? And I can show you guys how much of my work all looks the same. So it's recognizable like that I have a style that comes out in my artwork. And how long until you know? So when like on a creative arc, like I know that I'm done with the piece when I fall in love with it. Like I love this, right? And then it's done. And the thing about marketing and selling art and or selling anything really is there's so many people in the world that if you like it, there's going to be other people who like it, right? And so all you need to do is find that vein of people. So if you don't feel like your art is resonating with people, then it's not only that your art is not mature, right? It may or may not be. That's not really the important part. The important thing is that you're not finding the audience, right? So much of art sales so much of art sales is about who you're talking to more than anything else, right? So you might be like, I paint flowers, but you're only showing up in front of people who like architecture. Of course, you're going to feel like your art doesn't resonate, right? But if you're showing up in front of flower people and they're like, I don't like this, then there might be something to go look at in your technique or whatever. But first, you have to analyze your audience before you go any before you start taking any hacking at the core of what you do and who you are, right? Like, I for, there was a saying that just made me laugh. It's like if every room you go into is an asshole, then maybe you're the asshole. But uh, so you're in the wrong room is basically the way I was extrapolating that in my head, and it didn't come out the way I thought it would. All right. Does that help you at all? Is that the answer you thought you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean it does, but it's like it's frustrating and it's so time consuming and it's like, you post
Drop a picture of your art into the chat. All right.
okay, let's see if I can find something.
Yeah. Drop the
Something
link.
okay, let's see. Well, okay, I have something that I'm working on right now that I'm just gonna hold up. It's a work in progress, and I'll kind of explain it to you.
Yeah. Well, let me move on to another question
Okay,
while you find
sure.
that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Rob says he followed the link to the giveaway, but it didn't work. Let me refresh this, see if that worked. If you made it to Let's Go, then it should have worked. I don't, maybe there's something going on for the internet everywhere. Um, all right. How do you sell photography through galleries, or do you have your own gallery, or are you just selling art online? You're an independent artist selling direct. Um, so here's the thing, like everybody wants gallery representation, right? Or everyone wants representation in general. And the thing is, there's only so many people who represent other artists or who represent artists, and there's only so many there's only so many spaces on gallery walls that you can fit on, and there's like 80,000 or 20,000 artists on ArtHelper, right? So there's not enough physical space or people to represent artists out there. So you have to be able to do it direct. Like if I am representing an artist, the first thing I want to know before I decide to represent someone is, are they already selling? Because I'm not, as a business person, going to throw my time and effort behind an unproven product, right? When I was a kid, I worked at a motorcycle dealership before I joined the military. And I remember a rep came in and spoke to Jay, who was an absolute jerk of a boss. But I learned a lesson that is sticking to me right now. Like this guy came in with a product for motorcycles. I don't remember what it was. And he cut the guy off because that's the kind of jerk he is. But he cut the guy off mid-sentence. He says, how much of this have you sold? And then the guy's like, well, we just finished this product. Is well, I'm not going to put it on my shelf and make it take up space until I know it sells. The same thing is for galleries, same thing for art reps and art consultants. So how do you sell photography? Through a gallery or through a rep, you have to be able to have done it yourself. You have to be able to move your art yourself. So that means like I can draw you guys a whole map, like where is the path for starting out and how you're going to build an art career in and the goal of it all the time is you you need to create proof, right? Whether if you want representation, you need even more proof. But if you want someone to trust that they're going to buy something from you, they need to see social proof in order to feel confident in the decision. And that's it's so much more true now than it has been in the past.
Can I ask you, Jason? I was the one that asked that question.
Yeah, please.
Because I do sell my work, I do already have a look that I've had for years. I mean, a couple of. I'm known from what I do, but I'm selling a lot online between clients that meet me at art shows or people that just meet me But I'm wondering when you're asking, like you've showed that piece and it's 17,000 photography, I'm like, how are you personally marketing your work? I mean, I understand the gallery thing that doesn't really, it's not the same as it was years ago. It's not where you can necessarily, unless you're big time kind of known, it's difficult to make a living off galleries nowadays. It seems like less and less people are buying from galleries. I mean, I'm being for my kind of work anyway. I don't know.
Hmm. So how do I sell stuff online? Right.
Yeah, I mean, are you selling? You're selling. It sounds like you're an independent artist. You're selling direct,
Hmm.
but do you
Okay.
have a gallery space? Where do people see your work? Just online? Where do people see your work?
So I do three things. I do art shows. I run ads. And so we have organic and paid art media, and I network, right? So if you take art shows and networking and put them into the same thing, then basically those are the only two places I show up physically. And then I do ads. So that $17,000 sale was actually like closer to 30 something thousand, 35-ish for all the pieces that I sold in that one sale. He came through my art quiz. Right. So I run an ad that goes to a survey, and anyone who fills out that survey tells me the kind of art they want. But the really important part in that survey is they tell me how much money they're willing to spend, and they tell me when they want to buy. That becomes a lead. So those leads I follow up with, and then I turn them into sales, right?
Can,
And it's not like I think on the last iteration of my quiz, because I just closed it, so I know these numbers. I had 296 leads. They on average cost me 25 $80 per lead. And my return on ad spend was 4x. Right. So I spent like 10,000 on ads. I got 40 something thousand dollars in sales. Um, and that was over time. Right. It wasn't like
is
I did
that
it in
all
one
through?
day.
Is that all through social media or
Yeah.
okay?
All through
Are
Meta.
you are you using primarily Instagram or Facebook or
So
what
when
are
we
you?
talk about advertising, we talk about Meta, which is both Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, and now Threads. Um, so yeah, it all came through Meta. I've been playing
Okay.
around on TikTok ads, but I haven't really taken them too seriously, um, because it seems like, and I'll contradict myself a little bit. It seems like the majority of the audience on TikTok is like Gen X,
Yeah.
but that's not entirely true because I have a lot of organic sales that come from TikTok. But whenever I advertise on TikTok, it seems to get pushed to the people who are most likely to engage, and that's the Gen X, and it seems like I'm wasting a lot of time on there. So let me sum up this answer a little bit more like succinctly. You need to have a funnel. Whether the funnel is organic or paid or a combination of both, which is what I do, you have to have a funnel. So you have to have, when I say funnel, you have to have a way to take a stranger and turn them into someone who likes and trusts you, and then turn that person into a buyer, right? And in between those three steps, you have to have a filter that helps you that you're only speaking to the right people. You're going to get a lot of people in the top of the funnel, but by the time you're at the bottom, you'll have filtered your people. So you filter them by intent, like the kind of art they like. So whoever was on here before painted flowers, I shouldn't be talking to her audience. So at some point, they should see something that repels them, right? And then can they afford my work and where do they live, right? So, well, can they afford my work and do they have space for it? There's a there's a thing that I call buying states, right? Where you have to have this combination of they can afford your work, they like your work, and they're in some point in their life where they are ready to buy work, where they've just moved, they've just renovated, they've just remodeled, right? Or redecorating, right? Or they bought a new house. And those are the people you have to find them at that time. You can find a ton of the people who can afford your work. Like I could run an ad and just slam it here in Scottsdale, but it's going to fall on a majority of people who aren't ready to buy. So your language that you write for, this problems that you solve when you are writing content that's meant to sell and to reach people needs to be geared toward that person, especially when you're running an ad. Right? I think I tangented, but did that answer most of your question?
I think so. Are you, when you say you do art shows, are you doing, I saw on your website it was like, Red Dot and or Miami, and what kind of art shows are you doing?
So funny enough, the art shows that have the most ROAS, the highest return on spend, um, are the fairs, the town fairs. So when I lived in Washington, which I just moved to Scottsdale, but when I lived in Washington, in Seattle, the Bellevue Art Fair and the Redmond Art Fair had the highest return on spend. Redmond Art Fair was like $500 to participate in, 800 because I get a double booth. And every time I've done that show, I've made more than 25 grand.
Okay, yeah,
And
I've done those shows, and I do art fairs, so same thing.
so yeah, so you just got to make sure you're showing up to the right art fairs
Right.
in the
Yeah.
right places,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. All right. Great.
Let me jump on. Uh,
Thank you.
Yeah, like for instance, I only do like 4 or 5 art fairs a year.
Hmm.
Like the rest of them, I just won't show up to because it doesn't showing up just drains me and it costs money and it's the wrong people. Okay, Rob had a question. Um,
Um, yeah, just it sounds like you answered one of my questions. I was just wondering how you get the word out for people to find you. So it sounds like it's running ads through Meta is part of the way of getting people to talk to you. And the second part of my question is the art storefronts people have done a great job on my photography that when you click on one of the photos, uh, when you're looking at the one of my landscapes, it enlarges it to fill the full width of the page. And as I was looking at it the other night, I went, with upscaling algorithms with Topaz Gigapixel and things like that, people could do a screen grab and get not certainly not as good as the original. But so how important do you find watermarking in pictures that you post online?
um, Not in, I don't even do it anymore. Like if you go to my website or if you look at it in my social media, I don't watermark the photos because one, just like you said with those tech, you can make things bigger, right? But you can also easily, incredibly easily remove that stuff. Even before we had AI, you could easily remove that stuff. So
Yeah,
my thought process around it is um, the last time I looked up this stat, it was years ago, but there was something like 275,000 images being uploaded to the internet an hour, right? And
that's about right.
if out of that giant needle, out of that giant haystack, someone finds you and likes your work and is a bad actor, but they found you and liked your work, like great. You know, one, I curse guys, so fuck them. And two, like whatever. My main goal is to attract the people who are going to talk to me, right? I've had the whole I've actually seen people right click save and then print my stuff and then send me a picture of it. But look, I put this thing on your wall thinking they were giving me a compliment, and it looked like crap. It looked like crap, right? So it's not the thing that they're getting from me. And part of what you emphasize as an artist with original works is that there is a certification process, right? And then like the flip side of that is someone who right click saves it doesn't have or isn't in the place like mentally that they understand the value of ownership,
Got it.
right?
Okay, this speaks a
So
lot to me because last night I looked at I created a signature, a watermark. Then I did a screen grab of it and I put it into Photoshop. And with the remove tool, I was quite easily able to remove the watermark. I agree with everything you said. That totally makes sense that there's no need for watermark. The people you're going to sell to aren't going to be they're trying to steal your pictures, and the ones that will, well, they will, and they'll get a horrible quality copy as a result.
yeah, they will. I'm pivoting right now, guys. So give me a split second. Um, because the site's down. So I'm gonna cut and paste and put your guys the questions that came in over text on screen. So I just need to do some OBS magic. Um, image text.
And Mitch actually had his hand up before I did, I think. So just so you know.
Um, Mitch, just shout out your question for me so I can do this other thing for everyone else.
Mm. Hi, Jason. Thanks for doing this. I used to offer 8 by 12s on my website, and someone said, if you don't want to sell it, don't offer it. And I just didn't think it was profitable enough, so I started turning them off. And then I had a collector that met me at the Palm Springs Village Fest in California that liked to buy my matted 8 by 12 prints, express displeasure because he wanted to order some more. So I started re-enabling them on what he wanted. And then I spoke with a gallerist who said I should offer a maximum of 3 sizes. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to meet him halfway or compromise and offer 4. So I found out that Artie, the agent, the AI agent on ArtHelper, would offer me a matrix. He would look, I say he, I'm talking about the computer Artie, look at all of my images I've uploaded to ArtHelper and recommend the sizes for each image that I should offer. And in every case, he didn't suggest 8 by 12s. Well, Art Storefronts recommends something under $100, something for everyone. So I'm kind of like, do I offer 8 by 12s or not? Do they devalue me or not? What do you think about a landscape photographer offering 8 by 12 prints to appeal to a broader audience?
Uh, okay, so I think that appealing to a broader audience is the myth, right? You want to make so okay, let me take a step back. Um, if you want to make 100 grand a year, right? You can do it by selling $100,000 pieces. You can do it by selling 50, $2,000 pieces, so on and so forth. Your your first decision when it comes to marketing and sales is to decide who your audience is. If you want to sell five, if you want to sell $5,000 piece of art because that's the value you feel like you have, then your job is to find a $5,000 audience and then produce $5,000 work, right? Out of what you already did, out of what you're doing. So the first question is, that you have to ask yourself is who do you want to buy your work? If you want to appeal to a broad audience, that means that your business model, in so much as it is that you want to sell low price art and you're going to show it or sell it to people who find value in low price art. Right. And this is a real sticker that's going to make me sound like a jerk. But when I started being able to afford art, my first piece of art, it's in the other room, was a $1,200 painting by a guy named Neil's Eye. It's freaking awesome. I loved it, right? 1,200 bucks. And then from there, like my budget has gone. Like this piece, this is one of my works. Those are $100 each. This one that's in my other room, which is blurred out because of the camera, that's a $10,000 painting, right? So when I go to an art show, I don't notice, like this doesn't make me sound like a jerk, but this is just the vision in which the visors people put on themselves is I don't notice artwork under 500 bucks. Like it just doesn't even show up to me as valuable. So if you want to sell the idea is that you need to show up with someone, and I mean valuable to my vision of what I want to spend money on that means something to me. So imagine like you want to sell $200 artworks, but you show up to an art fair, like what me and Vonda were talking about earlier, I think, where all the buyers who are there are like the household 300,000 and above earners, right? They're not going to see value in something that's 200 bucks. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just that their value appreciation starts at whatever, right? Like you couldn't sell a Walmart ring in Tiffany's because they wouldn't see it as valuable because the price means something to them. So going back to your question, if you want to sell $100 artworks, that means you have to market to a $100 audience. And the thing about that is, and the reason that I don't like doing it is that and there's no wrong answer, by the way, right? It's just you have to find the right audience to sell your work and reach enough of them to make enough to reach your goals. Um, there's just a different mentality for someone who's going to spend $100 on a piece of art versus someone who's going to spend 10,000, right? And I'd rather deal
Yeah.
with the $10,000 buyer. So the first question for you is what do you want to, who do you want to sell to? Right. So if your goal for your business is to sell wall pieces that people put on their walls, like something like 40 inches or more, because walls are really big, then that's where you have to start offering your sizes.
Hmm.
So for me, my work doesn't go below 3 feet. And all of my additions are priced and sized, or all of my additions are numbered by size. So you can get 10 of a piece at 3 feet, 10 at 4 feet, 10 at 7 feet, whatever the sizes are decided. And that's how my additions, and then they're limited. So how do I want my work to be seen? I don't want
Mm.
someone to have a 12-inch picture of my tree of fire.
Right.
And people ask me for it all the time. I just tell them no. If you want it, it starts at 4 feet. I'll pull a tree of
I
fire out.
I
It's right over
think
there.
I think after listening to you, what I'm going to do is my below $100 offerings will be merchandise, and my limited editions will be large. And the sizes I offer on my open edition prints will be start no smaller than 12 by 18.
So let me pause you there. I am of the opinion that you cannot offer everything to everyone,
Right.
right? So if I am sending traffic to my website and the traffic is people with bigger budgets and they see mugs with stuff of my art on them, I feel like it detracts from the value or the presentation of who I am. All right.
Okay.
So let me give you the caveat. Like one of my students, his, his name is Ali. He does uh, like $10,000 paintings, $30,000 paintings, and then he does $800 sweaters, right? But his audience is like 3 million. So he is getting people to his website who can fill those different niches. But most of us can't do that, right? Like I don't have
Right.
an audience of 3 million. So if I'm going to present my work, then it needs to be all presented uniformly. Like I am presenting myself as a accomplished mid-career artist who sells to an affluent audience. And my affluent
Okay.
audience people are not going to buy a mug. So I can't include that in my offerings. Right? Now, if I was going to include merchandise, it would be like one or two things, and that's it. Like I want a JMFA hoodie, Jason Matias Fine Art hoodie, right? That is a hoodie I would make, and that would probably be it. That would be my one offering. If someone was a crazy enough fan for me that they want to buy that, then awesome. If not, then um, whatever. I still got my hoodie so I can walk around branded and people can see me with that extra layer of legitimacy. So going back to your question or what you were saying is again, you have to decide who your audience is, right? And I'm a real big, like, I do not believe that you can have open edition and limited edition,
Oh,
right?
really?
It's one or the other,
Hmm.
right? Because again, open edition offers no scarcity value. And that especially, when you're a photographer, or I think you said you're a photographer, um, we already have an inherently replicatable product. We could just make as many. So your integrity of your business is based on how you present it. So I don't do open edition at all. If I am going to do open edition, it would be a timed edition where you can sell as many as you want, but um, once that time limit is up, that determines the size of the edition. And that's an audience and marketing thing to make it really successful.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, I got a lot of. I'm gonna jump into some of these questions and let's um let's see where they go because this was a question that I think was from. Let me. How do I get out of the way of this? This is a question that I think was from one of the the members of one of the team at ArtHelper, what's one marketing thing that I see artists overcomplicate that's actually super simple to do? And I think that for everyone watching this on the replay, watching this on um, or right now, the number one thing that I see artists complicate is reps, right? Get in more reps for in terms of marketing, right? More repetitions. Like I just had a coaching call with my core group, the people who are in my core program, and I spent the whole thing, the whole call telling them to make more content, but not to overcomplicate it, right? I'm pulling this up like you guys will be able to see it, but oh yeah, it is showing. Like one of my artists in the group said, I only have, what do you do if you only have three pieces of artwork to show, to make content with? Well, I'm like, okay, here's three pieces of artwork, A, B, C. You have you have all these different types of content. So if you went through all these numbers, it's like 13. So if you were to do 13, you can make 13 pieces of content out of one piece of art. And then you can iterate on those 13 pieces of content and make two versions of each one. So now you have 26, right? 26
Hey,
pieces of art. And
what's up?
um and you need to show up more. Like number one thing that artists aren't doing is showing up enough on social media. You want to sell for free. You want to have organic content that sells your art without spending money on ads, then you need to show up more. But you can show up so much more simply. Like I've been messing this up too, like making really good reels when all I need to do is make a piece of content of me walking out of my house or putting a piece of art in my car. Those 5 seconds is all I need. And I can show up more and more and tell a story connected to that video. So this is the thing that I think artists are all missing on, right? In marketing is that you're not showing up enough, right? Um, this next question is this is a really good question that I feel like um, I feel like is an important one to understand right now. Let me copy paste this over. If Art Helper comes up, can someone shout it out in the content in the comments so I can not do it this way? Uh, text. Basically, I can fit 3 words on the line. So now that I have that figured out, I can make this easier. All right. So this person says they're curious if I've noticed shifts in the market. And again, for those of you watching, this is another really important thing about expectations, about how to sell work online. All right. You, I think that because of the geopolitical mess that we're in, right, all over the world, it's not even just America, there's shit going on everywhere. The economy, again, everywhere, that the buying cycle has been elongated. Like none of my sales this year, very few of my sales this year have been, hey, I like your art. Here, let me make a purchase. Right? All of my sales have been like, oh, I'm curious. And then I don't know if I can buy right now, building trust and following up to sale. And that cycle has gone from like 10 days to 3 months for most of my sales. So like I run a high intent ad for my art, right? For one of the ways I market is I run a high intent ad for that survey. It picks up buyers with high buyer intent. And those people are like, yes, I want this, but I'm not sure if I can have it yet. And that has been new. It's been new since 2026. So this has changed a lot. So that means that when you have someone reach out to you about your work and about potentially collecting, that you have to expect that that sale is going to require more contacts, right? More contact points between you and the buyer before it turns into a sale. And the number of contact points and the degree to which those contact points are, have depth depends on your price point, of course. The higher price you are, you this is a funny thing about money, but like from like 5,000 to 15,000, it's going to take a lot of like nurturing and guiding, and then 15,000 over, people are back to spending money right away. All right. Um, So again, this is an expectation thing. And if you know what to expect, you can navigate your sales pipeline a lot better. All right. So there's a few other questions I'll get to here in a second. But again, I just want to call out, and I'll drop this link for those of you who want to join or take a look at school with me. There's the link to register, and I can show you guys what that's about at the end if you want. Um, Someone asked me if I would help them create their website. No, I will teach you how to create your own website, and that'll serve you a lot more in the long run than me helping you do than me doing something for you. Okay, this is a great question and I'm just going to paraphrase it in this so that I don't have to think. So, how do I go from international to Western market, right? My spelling is now excusable, by the way. Oh, I fixed it. Okay, so I don't think I can look at that. Sorry, guys. Um, this is a great question, and I just partnered with an educator from India, and I created a whole program about how Indian artists can show up more in America. And the the gist of this is where do you show up online? Right? This is the important thing. Like, how do you show up online? And it requires, so this applies to everyone, whether you're abroad or not. But if you want to show up in an audience, in a specific audience, you need to start engaging with that audience, right? So if you want to show up more with interior designers, which I have opinions on because I've lost more sales to interior designers than I've actually made. Um, but if you want to get more representation in the interior design market, then you need to be spending all of your time on organic marketing, engaging with the interior design sphere, the orbit of interior design. That means connecting with designers in the area that you want to connect with and actually engaging with their content, right? Like you cannot be passive on social media and expect it to work for you. You have to treat social media like a job. So you show up on socials, engaging with the people who are in the target that you want to hit. So it's shares, it's meaningful comments. It's not wow, it's not oh my God, this is amazing, or wow, what an incredible job you did. It's like making a conversation in your comments, in their comment section, and then that'll signal the algorithm to start showing you more of that content. And then the more you engage with, it'll start sharing your content with that audience, right? And then you break in over there. So that means, like, if you're trying to go from the Ukraine in this instance, was her question, to America, that means like researching. I would start with the tier one markets, San Francisco, Scottsdale, Seattle, LA, like all of the Silicon Valley places, Miami, like pick one of those or a few of those and just start engaging with accounts in that space, right? And more of those people will see you. The algorithm is your first audience. It will see you and it'll start feeding you that content and then it'll start showing your content to those people, right? If you don't want to do it organically, then your job is you just run ads. And that's honestly so much easier. Work on creating great content and then once you have a winner, run an ad to it. Right? That's pretty much how I get turn sales conversations into sales. Um, Someone said, I have an economics degree. I know how to market a consumer product, but I find harming it's harming and contradicting to the message of what art is about when money is first prioritized. Um, okay, so this idea that money and art don't belong together. Let me put this up here. This idea that money and art don't belong together is wrong. Like there's no other way to say it. It's it's wrong. Money and art No. Money and art, no. Um, I can't imagine a more wrong perspective on being a career artist. Okay. So here's the thing. Like when I create a piece of art or when I'm working on a new piece, it's art. When it's done, it's a product. When someone buys it again, it's art. And in that middle section where my art becomes a product allows me to look at my art and give it the qualities of a product, right? Which means it's made for a certain person, is made or priced for a certain demographic, and it fits in a certain house, all the different elements, right? And once I know those things, then I can market it to whoever needs to see it. And to not think that way means that you're just if you don't know who you're selling to, then you can't market, right? So if you don't know who your buyer is, right? In order to know who your buyer is, you need to be able to describe your work and who it's for, right? If you don't know who that person is, then you're not marketing on social media. You're just playing on social media. You're just a consumer who shares your stuff, right? So you have to know who you're so money is an integral part of having an art career, right? It defines your audience. It gives you the ability to continue creating and to continue selling, right? So if I were to draw like a Venn diagram, and the diagram is what I create on one side and who wants to buy it, right? In mass, and where they overlap is sort of the starting point for your market. And I think that artists confuse that overlap spot with a corrupting of their art form, but it's not, right? Like it, I had this artist who has a very like niche thing that she creates. It's fabric, it's Japanese fabric thing. It's all shapy and something. It's a hard product to sell. It's a three-dimensional wall piece. Um, but she used to have this other product or this other art form that she did that was like a composite uh, collage art. So it's photography plus collage plus acrylic painting that sold really well. And I'm like, this is your entry product to the market. It's still what you do. It still represents you, but it gets people and on social, it's good for marketing because it reaches the most people. Then you can show those people your more niche topic, your more niche stuff. And um, she's like, well, I don't want to compromise what I'm doing because I want to do the niche stuff. It's like, fine, but use this other thing as your market entry. It's still you, right? So finding the place where your artwork meets the marketing space is really important, but that doesn't mean that um, it doesn't mean that it's corrupting your philosophy around art, right? And I know this is a hot topic, so if someone wants to chime in and be like and have a contradict or an opinion or an idea or thought that they want to work out, then feel free to just jump off mic. Um, okay, so next question. I am curious how to increase my sales. I have a very specific photog type of art. I'm a 53-year-old professional rodeo photographer. My style is very documentary with my tight niche. Do you have any suggestions to expand my reach? Um, so I think it's like twofold, right? Expanding your niche means engaging with more of your niche, right? Like social media is not one way. So I'm assuming that this guy is marketing or organic on social. So it's like, how do I find more rodeo people, right? It's finding and engaging with all of the content that's out there around rodeo, right? And I didn't see his work. I think I posted a question for him to post his work below. But I think the one of the main differences that turns a photograph into a piece of art is the presentation. Like I can show you a picture of a tree. All right, cool. But I put that tree in a frame with like a liner and and a presentation that looks like it belongs on a wall. and it changes the mindset around what people are seeing. So if you go to a rodeo, for instance, for this guy specifically to do the work, I would also have a sample or example of what you do. Not like pictures, not a slideshow, but a 40-inch picture of your work that that will let people understand or see the thing that you're doing. Um, that'll help a lot. And then again, on organic, showing the finished product, right? Show the finished product, show you working, and fill your work with that. Right? If you're just sharing like a picture of the art versus sharing a picture of the finished product, which is the print on a wall, in your hands, whatever, that changes the whole way anyone who's viewing your art is going to think about it. Whew. All right. Simple question, says Rob. Rob, you could have just come off mic. Do you think it's important to offer frames with photos purchased on our storefronts or frames as distraction on the website? Um, so I think people are very used to in today's e-commerce world of having it done, having everything done when they get a product. So
Okay.
I offer frames, but I only offer a little bit of frames, right? Like I'll show you what I mean because the framing world is um
I
the
guess it's
frame.
because I found art storefronts frames choices are kind of limited, but maybe that's fine if some people find what they want. And if they don't find what they want, they can then go their own route and get it framed themselves. Okay, so this is what you have?
Yeah. Yeah. So just as an example, and I think ASF might build a template off of my website. I used to have, oh, I used to have at the bottom of each page an example of my work, kind of like these examples, but it would be just the art with a whole bunch of different frames. And what I found was it caused too many options for people, so they wouldn't make a buying decision. So
Interesting.
I limited it to these are my four pieces, my four favorite frames, and if you want something more, we can talk about it. So, the number one frame I sell with my work is some version of this floater, right? And people see it, you made the decision for them, they're happy, it's done. So I don't know how our storefronts frame options go, but I would just limit it to a few and bill it as a service you provide, a way to help them complete the purchase all in one place, and
Okay,
then
that's helpful and
go
makes
from there.
sense too.
Yeah, I used to show all the different frames in in these examples, and it would take me a while. It would take me a lot of effort, not too long. But now I just show the one frame for all of the stuff. And like this frame in particular is somewhere in between, it's modern, but it also has like that contemporary look with the texture and the veneer and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a
So
classic simplicity to it.
yeah. Um, and that's it, I never have anyone buy just the piece with the acrylic and frame it themselves. Like it just never happens. They always want it done.
That is really helpful. Thank you.
Let me give this a refresh. Almost, almost. All right. Oh, we're running this whole thing has run off this thing, so I'm not going to change the way we're doing it now. Okay, so next question. Of photographer, when am I sharing the screen? Um, Oh, this was a great question. My initial opening of my website had a flurry of activity, but since then, nothing. My question is, after reading how to market your artwork, um, is it important to show up online as one's authentic self? Okay, hold on, I lost my spot. How do you continue to do that when you get little or no feedback? All right, this is the question. How do you keep showing up online as yourself when you don't get feedback? right? So here's the bottom line answer. If you're not getting feedback on your work, then you're not making good content. If people aren't liking your stuff, it's not the algorithm holding you down. It's you not creating content that people want to see. There's no two ways about it. There's no nice way to do it. You're not doing a good job creating content. Because here's the thing, like when you're on your phone and you're scrolling, you probably scroll back a ton of stuff that is boring to you, right? It doesn't catch you in the first moment. It doesn't have a hook. It doesn't follow through with this with a micro story that people can pay attention to and be a part of. And if that's the case, if that's what you're doing repeatedly, then it's that's the problem, right? So if your website had an initial flurry, that's probably all friends and family and organic people. When you announce you did something, when you celebrate anything on social media, the algorithm says, "Yay, I'm going to show this to people because people like to celebrate together." But after that, you need to create content that drives people to your website. And this is that's the bottom line. If you want to do it organically, then your job becomes becoming a good storyteller, right? Becoming a good storyteller online, which means you have to tell stories in the way that people want to consume them, right? And I get this all the time from artists in my program, from artists not in my program. It's like I'm nobody's seeing my stuff. Should I just stop? It's like you should stop creating the content that you're doing and start making something else. Like if you were to go into a room of 3-year-olds and try to teach them math and they all just stopped listening to you and started throwing a ruckus, would you continue trying to teach them math in the way that you were trying to teach them? You'd have to do something different, right? You'd have to go from the chalkboard to fingers or go from fingers to lining kids up and making them count each other. Like you'd have to change the way you present the material in order for people to continue to pay attention to you. Right. And that's it. That's all you can do. Um, let me go back to this question thing. I think I clicked off my all right, hold on. I lost the questions. Feel free to drop a question in the chat, or maybe we'll move to ArtHelper. The AI that governs my CRM keeps taking the ArtHelper emails and throwing them into uh, spam. Yeah, I literally cannot find the email conversation that we were just having. Let me go back to ArtHelper. I'll share my screen and bear with me for 1 second. Oops. Just remove this. Okay. ArtHelper's back. And here's the post. All right. Um, that point that I was just talking about is really important. So if those of you who are here understand what I mean by making content for the audience and not making content for yourself, put a 1 in the comments. If you don't get it and you want me to go a little bit deeper, I think I can show some examples that might help you. All right. Okay, we answered Bill's question. Some questions in his spinning. Brittany wants to see examples. Bob. All right. Do. Let me do this. I'm going to go to um, iPhone mirroring. Bring this over here. Okay, welcome to my phone. Let's go to Instagram. All right, I'm just gonna go to my Instagram, my personal Instagram. And there's a giant booty. Let's go here. Okay, so I do trial reels a lot, all right? And here in under trial reels, like you'll see content that people want to see. 2,000 views, 2,000 views, 4,000 views, 5,100, right? And like these are both the same piece of content, but nobody wanted to see me talk about waking up to more followers. People wanted to see this hook and idea about artists connecting in more ways than are just transactional. Um, so like in this instance, like I tried to use the same piece of content, but I missed the mark on this one. So I tried again with another piece of content. So if you're not creating good content, like you need to figure out how to massage it into a better vehicle for people to understand who you are and what you do. Right.
Are you
Bob, it was
able
good
to
having you.
spotlight yourself so that we can see that larger?
Can I do what?
Are you able to spotlight yourself so you're the only one on the screen so we can see that larger?
Um, Let me try it this way. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So like same thing here. Like I don't know what was up with these two pieces of content, but it showed it to nobody. Look, 2 views, right? So, this was content that didn't make sense to the algorithm, and it needed to become, um, I needed to change it, right? So instead of me railing against the world because it's not showing my work to everybody, I said, okay, what does the world want to see? And then I started making that kind of content or shaping my art into the storyline or the way that people want to see it. And this is like the ultimate um, shift that people have to make in their head, like for themselves, right? Because your audience, the first person thing to see your work is the algorithm. And the algorithm has all this knowledge about how people behave online. So when video came out and video became super cheap and easy for everyone to do, people started watching it more because it's more fun than looking at a static Instagram picture. So the algorithm said, this is what people find more entertaining. I'm going to show this and I'm going to stop showing the other thing. So you had to make the shift from stills to video. And there were so many people who didn't, and they blamed the algorithm or they blamed Meta for making this choice for everybody else. But really, it was the mass psychology of people, the mass behavior, where machine learning looked at how people behave, and then they started gearing the content that fit their behavior so as they liked it more. Now people are shifting from video and they're more inclusive into carousels. So if you're not doing carousels, if you're not doing sliding, engaging storytelling on a multiple still format, then you're losing. And it's super important to understand that people want to consume content. They want to consume entertaining content, and your job is to be entertaining, um, or you miss. Okay, so this question that someone had, um, I forgot what the words in the actual question are, but in order to get people to your website, you first have to catch their attention, and you have to do that in the way that they want to be entertained. Right. So I was going to jump into just random Instagram stuff, but I felt like it wasn't appropriate to randomly criticize people. So that's my spiel on that. It's super important, I think, but I hope it's valuable. All right. I think this is gonna be a good question. So for a brand new artist with no collector base, how important is it having people see the work in person at least once through an exhibition or art fair before making their first purchases? Does participating in at least one exhibition or art fair significantly increase trust, likelihood, collectors, can online own loan? So 60% of my collectors have never seen my work in person before buying, right? But what they have seen is examples of my work in video. So your job as a salesperson on social media is to recreate the in-person experience as best you can, right? So that's showing the work and showing close-ups and showing, walking around the art and talking about the art and the materials and a little bit for the collector, not as a process art, not as a process video where you explain how to do art, but telling people like this is what it looks like and this is the texture and this is why it looks like that. For uh, for as an example, right? So your job is to um, show them what your art would look like in person. And it's never going to be as good as it would if they did see it in person, but you can recreate that by sharing people's reactions to your art, right? Or by sharing testimonials and things like that, so they can get more of a perspective on your work and what it is like to own it. So do an art fair, but nowadays, like when I do an art fair, it's a content generation event, right? Like I put up a GoPro and I'm still trying to get this right, but I put up a GoPro to capture people's reactions to my art. I unload and load and do all the behind the scenes of making an art fair work, but I record it because it shows the work of being an artist. Um, they become like massive content generation events. So now art fairs do double work, quadruple work, and it helps people see legitimacy and authority in your art. Um, but short of an art fair, you still need to produce your work so that people can see it. So you can make examples of people seeing it. Right? Uh, I wasn't sure if this was sarcastic or not. Um, I answered that question. I'm just gonna randomly pick one. I got about 15 minutes left in me, and then but I'd love to do this again. Like, is this been valuable for those of you who have hung out for the last 75 minutes? Let let, let the world know. You could throw like a one or in the comments or something. I have a website that I built and coded myself on GitHub for deployment. I have solid SEO and my site has been indexed. I haven't had much traffic and the site has been up for 7 months. My art is mostly digital and can be categorized as cyberpunk along with surrealism. I guess I'm having trouble seeing what is keeping traffic from my site. Okay, so you can't say you have solid SEO and then say nobody's coming to your traffic, right? You just contradicted yourself. And I call out artists on this because like this is you being accountable for to yourself. If you're telling yourself this story, then you're not going to move any further. But SEO is changing. Like now we have SEM and we have whatever the AI version of SEO is. And basically people used to find websites because a website answered a question or a need that they had. Now the internet looks at their websites, comes up with answers, and gives it to people without them having to go to anyone's website. So SEO, the discovery part of your website, is much less effective than it used to be. So I wouldn't rely on this, right? This is why paid marketing is so much better, or social, or even organic, but on social media is so much more powerful because you can display authority and intrigue and interest and um, expertise in what you do, and then direct people to your website and get people to go from there. And those people who go from an organic place into your website have much more higher intent. Um, so traffic, I'm guessing I'm having traffic. So my suggestion is don't spend the next 7 months tweaking your website SEO, right? Just start working on getting more eyes on your work through socials. If you have a budget for it, then you can run ads on Google or social. Um, but that's the place that you can leverage. Does this keep skipping around? Like every time I like something, it reorganizes the comments. All right. How much consistency in the body of work and a recognizable brand influences sales of art? Consistency in your body of work creates recognizable authority. And I've said this word a lot. So one of the things I teach in Art of Selling Art is the 7 principles of authority or 7 principles of messaging. And they are, um, oh crap, storytelling, uh, authority, the law of reciprocity, the the why principle, the why now principle, consequences, and one other, right? So authority and storytelling are the two big ones when it comes to inbound traffic. The why now, consequences, and the law of reciprocity are the big ones when it comes to closing a sale. So when I talk about authority, I mean, like, why is someone going to listen to you about what you do? And you're the only person that's going to um, pitch yourself as the authority on your work. And one of the ways you can do that is through consistency in what you create. Now, I have multiple bodies of work. Like I have my landscape portfolio, and then I have my portrait work. So I have different accounts for those. And then within my landscape work, I have a very specific like core theme that I call comfortable isolation. And all of my works feel the same, right? Especially all of my new content feels the same. And that when someone sees that, they can feel like I am serious about what I do and knowledgeable and my storytelling's on point and all of that. So it's really important. But when it comes to like having a whole body, multiple bodies of work or multiple ways of presenting either and the idea that you're behind, the consistency of your idea is super important. So if you look at one of my Aria collection pieces, one of my portraits, like this one behind me, right? And then you look at um, and then you look at my, what's that called? I can do this, I think. Yeah, this is my screen. So let me see if I have this one in this folder. First, I'd have to remember what it's called. It's Brutal Hearts. AB. This, by the way, is my whole portfolio, um, my whole website in folder form. So whenever I need to see something, I can always just come in here and pick it up. But I was going to do Shade of My Heart. So I'll grab this one. And then damn it. And then I was going to do one of my arias, which I might have to pull up my photos to do that. Why though? I will just pull up this one instead. Like there's a use of color and there's a use of like the way I position things. And if you read the narrative that goes along on both of these pieces, it's so similar. So it shows a similar message across all of my bodies of work. This one behind me is a better example to go alongside this one, but that is super important. So this is finding your why, right? There's 4 artist statements that I think every artist should have. It's the ones you know about, the artistic or the academic artist statement, the academic bio, then you have your story bio, and you have your why statement. And your why, if everything fits inside of your why, then you're doing it right in terms of consistency. Again, I'm harping on this because I find so many artists with their why statements that doesn't either show in their work or it's so broad or maybe non-specific, it's different, that they could apply to anybody. And so the consistency doesn't follow through. All right. Anyway, I would like to know how you get repeat customers. I'm always adding new works, but it can hardly be get a second tail. So do you know what a butterfly funnel is? Right. That is my, uh, this is how you get repeat customers. All right. So let's do, I'm gonna draw out a butterfly funnel. And I think there's another question that I saw in here that I think I want to end on. Um, Share, present. Okay. Let me move this into here. Okay, so we are used to, or everyone's used to seeing this as a funnel, right? Where you have like cold leads, and then you have discovery, and I'm going quick because I'm going to erase this. Then you have like information gathering, right? Info gathering, and then you have hot, right? Really hot's like just this part. Um, But a butterfly funnel is how you get multiple sales. And this is, I think, is a really great question because 30% of my sales every year come from buyers who've already purchased from me. So I'm gonna go like this, and then this. All right. So over here on the left side is your inbound traffic. So you have your cold, your lukewarm, your warm, and then you're hot, right? So this is the sale, right? And then this is where people live for a little bit, and then you have um, the stages of the outbound where this is your second sale, right? So if you're trying to get repeat buyers, but you're not doing any of the nurturing that comes in this part, then that's where that's where you're missing for your that's what you're missing in your funnel. Right? So after someone buys, what happens? Right? Are they added to a community or at least given access to you in some way that they can only get because they're a buyer? And then are they um, are they nurtured with that access? Right? So do they get exclusive content? Do they get exclusive updates? Does it feel special to be part of your world? Right? And then do they get offers? Right? You can't make sales to people if you're not making offers. And depending on how many buyers you have, this can be personal offers. For instance, I have a buyer, I have a collector, his name is Dave, his name is David. Um, and I know what he likes. So whenever I have something that's kind of special that I think would fit in his thing, I personally reach out and I tell him I'm working on something. Right? So there's something that feels special. So all of my people, all of my collectors, there's notes on them. I have a spreadsheet that tells me what they bought, of course, and like where all my art is. But then I have a note section. Like, okay, Dave is a home builder on the East Coast, right? And he likes super colorful stuff. So I might send him a piece of art on social media that's not by me. I'd be like, hey, dude, I think you'll like this artist, right? And he gets extra value from that. And our relationship continues to grow. And then that's when you get the sales right here. So if you're not doing this second half of the bow tie funnel, then that's why you're not getting your next sale. All right, I lost the page. Here it is. All right. So I use Squarespace for all of my work. Um, Someone says, I think I am fitting. I'm looking at the comments now. I think I'm with you on your argument on fitting audience. On social media, isn't it the case that pleasing the algorithm will lead to islands of self-similar art somehow? No, that's not true. By risking or ruining myself bankrupt, isn't it exactly to think of? I I think I need you to rewrite this for me. With unless maybe your sentence you're not speaking in English first language. Um, Show work that is not resonating on social media echo chambers without being a filming director. I'm not sure there was a question in there, but maybe you could ask it again. What are some of the other exclusive things I do for my collectors? It doesn't have to be much. Um, that's pretty much it, right? Like continue the relationship. The early access to things. All of my collectors get access to my new work beforehand. The personal relationship development, and that's it. That's really it. One of the things I want to do is I want to create a website that people have to sign in and log into, and then they can register their art and they can have like a community where they can talk to each other and chat about what they have and even sell their stuff uh, on the secondary to each other. And I think that with the new how new everything is with AI and like vibe coding, like this is something that I can build without, I can do it myself. So having a website like this um, is is another place, but it's so someone just said Reddit. Um, you could create a private community on Reddit. You can create private community on Telegram or WhatsApp. But I think having a place that I own so that new people can come into this and I can get their emails and I can get their phone numbers and so I can market to them um, is the way to go. And nowadays it's so easy to build something like this. Like you could build it in a week, starting with zero knowledge. And you can build it in 3 days, starting with if you understand Claude Code and whatnot. But creating this home. Oh, I'm drawing and it's not even on the screen. Creating this home for my collectors, I think will be the next level of providing value. And oh, the other thing, here's one thing that I do for collectors that you might like. I have collector only artwork, like artwork that you can only buy if you already own my stuff. So that's another like exclusive thing that you can offer for um for your buyers. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how much chops I have because we didn't get to a lot of these questions. So while we're doing this, by the way, if you haven't already, um, I will drop the giveaway for you. I don't know why it's not showing up over there, but let me grab the link for that here in the chat, and I'll put it back up on the screen over here. So let's turn that on, and then all right, so you can enter that as well. Um, for the past 2 years, okay, where was I? For the past 2 years, I've been making mostly giving away metal crosses. They have a contemporary look and attract people to the cross. Everyone gets one. I can't believe that I'm giving them one for free without asking. I wonder, I give to whoever God directs me to. It would be nice to make some money, supplement my already low income. I've listed on Marketplace and Etsy. When people see them in person, they are memorized. I have extensive experience selling old machinery. Okay. So this is the thing that I focus on with this question. Like if people love your work, then it's time to start presenting it as something that can be purchased. Facebook Marketplace is not the spot. Etsy, I'm going to say, and I know a lot of people will disagree, but Etsy is not the place. And well, for $65 art, maybe it would. Um, but it doesn't matter if you put your art here or you put your art here if you don't drive traffic to it. So again, like traffic is the key, eyes are the key. So you need to start getting people, if people are mesmerized when they see them, then you need to start showing it to people in a way that they can be mesmerized online. Right? Um, yeah, there's no two ways. You have to present it as something that people can buy. Mm. I'm an oil painter painting wildlife and horse art. I sell art around the world, but it's not fast, very slow. How can I find collectors? All right, we talked about that a bunch already. If I'm not interested in making constant reels of me posting with my art, how do I sell it? You can, okay. Um, so you're asking me how do I sell my art without doing any work? That's basically the question that's happening here. And I get this question a lot, so I'm not being like too snarky on you or for specifically, but this is I get this a lot. How do I sell my art without doing any work? And you're going to have to. You're going to have to do the work. If you want to sell it without spending money, you're going to have to do the work. If you want to sell it with spending money, you're still going to have to do some work because if you have a poor performing piece of content that you use as an ad, it is going to underperform as an ad. So, like what I do is I go through um, sweat equity, elbow grease. Yeah. So what I do is I go through like iterations of creating content, and then I take my best performing content and I use that as for ad material. All right. You have your story, your why, you have a newsletter, a website. So you've built a house and nobody's showing up. All right. So no matter how much I post, I don't sell. Like you guys are hearing a theme that I hear over and over. Right. That means you need to post differently because I'm posting on social media and I'm selling. Right? Other people are posting on social media and they're selling. So are they lucky or are you not doing something right? And that's the thing. Like I hear this a lot and I'm being critical, but it's because nobody else will be critical with you about this. If you post a lot and you don't sell, then you need to post differently. All right. And then you also have to have the language and the wording so that the right people find your work. And when I say right people find your work, what I mean is the algorithm's going to read what you wrote, watch what you made, and then it's going to say this is for a person, and it's going to show it to that person. And you need to make sure that the algorithm understands what your product is, your art, and who it's for, so we can start sharing it with those people. And when you start writing differently and when you start posting differently, it's going to take a while for the algorithm to relearn who you are, and then it'll start putting it out into more people. But you can't have online sales with no work. So, and the work is content when it's free. The work is content when it's free. The work is still content when it's paid. You just have to do less. From me, I would like to obtain a valuation of my creations. I have regular buyers for my work. Most of them refuse to buy a piece that's less than $700. Otherwise, they stop purchasing. To refuse to buy a piece for less than 700 pounds. I think that's what that sign is. Or euros. Otherwise, they stop purchasing. I'm waiting your evaluation. Um, oops, it's going to change the order of everything. Uh, I think this goes back to the conversation we had about like buying pockets. Like it's hard to sell cheap stuff or inexpensive stuff to someone who wants to spend more money. They refuse to buy a piece for less than 700. Otherwise, they stop purchasing. Yeah, then I would just stop offering pieces for less. But as far as like how do I appraise your work? Um, like I would go by historical sales. That's the best thing. Like my work used to be $300. That picture I showed you earlier in the beginning, that was my work at $75, right? And then as my sales went up and I got more proof of those sales, then I could keep raising my prices. But as far as like a real appraisal that a famous artist would get on their work, that's not something I can give you. Michael says that his work starts at 1,500. Yeah, my work starts at 3,000. Um, Even if the math on the equation that I use to price my art is less than 3,000, I still charge 3,000 for it. Oh, this thing changed, so now I got to go back down. All right, 10 more minutes, and then I'm gonna jump. So if you're watching, hanging out with me right now, and you have a question, now's a good time to drop it in. Um, please talk through your recommended approach for building relationships with interior designers or decorators. It's two different things. Um, so, okay, so what I would do what I would do is I would go to LinkedIn and I would look for the interior designers in my area that I can personally reach out to, right? And then I would connect with them online, connect with them on social media outside of LinkedIn, and just start having a relationship with them online. So like commenting, creating conversation on their posts. And then once you've been noticed, you can ask the question about, hey, I just saw that you're in Scottsdale too. Can I meet up for coffee and show you some of my work? Can I bring coffee to your office and this 6 foot piece of art that I have that I would love to show you? That's what I would do if I wanted to, but I generally don't want to, right? Because interior designers, they or decorators, they have a vision for the homes that they're in, and if your work doesn't fit that vision, they don't want it, right? And I had someone over here, I had an interior designer from my networking group come over here and look at my work, and I asked her like, do you normally place art? And she said no. She's like, normally I just get like the $300 or $400 thing that matches the colors I'm already putting in the home, and that's all they do. And you know, so art curation is a whole nother job. Most of them don't want to add that to their space. And the other thing is that the interior designers that you look up, they need to work with the kind of clients who could buy your art because they're already spending thousands of dollars on the designer, tens of thousands of dollars on the design, and then you want to ask them to spend another few $1,000s on the art, and sometimes it's a hard sell. So you have to make sure that your interior designer works with the clients that you want to work with. And I'll give you like a legit example because um, his name is Juan. I'm going to show you a conversation that I had with a designer because even though I don't like it, I still freaking do it. Hold on, I don't want to show you all my conversations, but um, give me 1 second and I'll give you like proof of this so that you guys don't do this anymore. All right. So here's a conversation I had with Juan. He is a referral, and I showed him my work. And Juan, getting them to make time for you is a pain in the ass. And then uh, what does my pricing look like? So my work starts at 3,000. I wasn't lying about that. Um, so Jason, this sounds good. Your work would be better suited for executive offices and high-end hospitality projects. Most of our custom dimensional artwork is around that price point, but I don't have those clients. All right. So I spent 2 days trying to get into this guy's pocket, and he was the wrong guy. All right. And that came through a referral. So I didn't do research on the back end before talking to him. But yeah, I've had people want my work, like for $4 or $5 million homes, and their interior designer told them no. Like literally told them no. That doesn't fit into their vision. So it's not where I focus a lot of my time. All right. He might know a guy who knows a guy, though. I would have asked him if he knew anyone. No, you had to read the room. Um, that he was uncommunicative, um, hard to get a hold of, and he doesn't know me. So that's the other thing with interior designers. Like they know people, they know artists already. They have, people who are their friends who create art and whatnot. And you have to get them to think of you when it comes time to to pitch an artist for a space. So the relationship is everything, right? Relationship is everything. So you have to develop that relationship before you can start making asks of them. Right. I had been painting for several years and I'm starting selling my work, but at a loss at where to start with it, with publicly. All right. This was the question I wanted to answer early on. A customer acquisition funnel. All right. This is my last question or my last answer. Um, I'm going to draw this out for you because it's easier than making a pie chart. Pull up my brainstorm. Pull this over to here. Pull this over to here. All right, give me a second to whip this up. I don't think this is actually connected anymore. Oh, it is. All right, so a customer acquisition funnel, right, is what you need to have before you decide on where you're going to market, right? And if that sounds scary, it's really not, right? So you have your art. Here we are. So where are you going to sell your art? You're going to sell on social media and your website. Right? Or really, like this is where your website lives. So you have to decide how you're going to get people to your website. And this is a decision you have to make. And if you're starting from nothing, then this is a really great time because you have a lot of options. So let's say the platforms you like the most are TikTok and Meta, where you have Facebook and you have Instagram, right? As little things inside there, or Threads, right? And then where else can you get people? Sorry. Where else, what other place can you get people to show up at your work? There's galleries, there's art shows, all right? And there's networking. I'll just put a big N for networking, right? How are you going to get people here, right? And this is your chance to decide how your business is going to look. So you want to market on TikTok, you want to market on Instagram, and tangentially, because when you post on Instagram, it connects to Threads. So those happen, and you want to do art shows. Like let's say those are um, your three customer acquisition sources, right? So once you decide, then you can take action. So she asked, I don't even know where to start. So if you're going to start, yeah, there's X to, um, so once you pick these places, then you can develop an individual plan for how you're going to show up on one of these social medias or the other, right? If you were doing these things, I would also add networking as an option to do in between art shows, right? So then you get people to your website, and then like how do you sell? That's the other part of this conversation. So how do you sell? So you have to learn like sales, right? Without going too much into it, you have to learn how to close the sale. And then you have the rest of the bow tie funnel where you start nurturing for the next sale. But identify all the sources where you could market and then choose the ones where you feel like you can succeed on. Okay. So, this is what I would do. If I was just starting out today, I would go to TikTok because it's the easiest place to grow organically. Um, and I would go to Instagram, right? And I would find my local art shows, but make sure that they can uh, that the shows you go to can support you by bringing in the clientele that can afford what you do, which works both ways, guys. Like you can do an art fair in an affluent neighborhood with cheap art and sell nothing, and you can go to a blue collar neighborhood with expensive art and sell nothing. Right? So you have to match your audience with your art price point. Right? So this is it. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Some of you stayed here for the whole time, which is awesome. So welcome and thank you for hanging out. Um, is there any last minute questions for me before I go drink some tea? Because my throat is, I feel it. All right. It doesn't have to be. And just here.
Jason, is there a good source for learning how to do ads from Meta?
I run a program called The Art of Selling Art. So if you want to look into that, I can drop you a link. Well, I'll just put the link in here for everyone. Slash LFG. Uh, on my roadmap, there is section 8 of the roadmap is the whole ads course. So it's a whole course of their own, right? And then Michael says they have Meta has its own courses as well. So those are two options for sure. If you go outside of a artist's lessons on creating art, on doing ads, like David Emmons has a good ads course too. Um, you're gonna have to adapt what industry they're teaching for to the art industry. Are there prompts for working on telling your story to dial it in? Yeah. So if you join my school, I have an art storytelling challenge inside the school, and it guides you through writing art stories, naming your art, writing all of your statements, etc. Right? That's what the giveaway is for. It takes you to that, but you can also just go straight to school, and then if you happen to win the giveaway, then um, we'll figure that out afterward. But here's the link for school directly. It's $15 to get access to the writing education that's in there. Prompts. Yeah, I'm glad you found it useful. Does anyone want to enter the giveaway that hasn't yet? I'll give it 15 seconds. Let me know, or I'll just post the link in here again. Here's the link for 15 seconds before we jump off. Yeah, the recording is going to be sent out by ArtHelper. So if you haven't been getting their emails, check your spam and put them on the whitelist. The recording will go out, I think on Monday or something. I'm not sure. Dang. Where is my Zoom window? All right. Well, cool, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. And oh, there's some faces here. And I will catch you guys in the next one.